a huge, consistent piece of my algorithm is somewhat close-up videos of rabbits eating different fruits and vegetables.
Oh, yay.
And very mic'd up, so you can really hear them like.
I love that. I did spontaneously buy, it's not a ciabatta loaf. It's not a baguette either. It's somewhere in between where it's like half as long as a baguette and same shape. And I just spontaneously bought it at Trader Joe's yesterday and was like, for no reason other than that I was there. And that's kind of my move at Trader Joe's, is just wander until things catch my attention. And I bought some prosciutto and I was like, that's going to be lunch tomorrow.
Sometimes I buy something because I want to be the kind of person that would buy that.
I do the same thing, and those things end up in the garbage, unused and untasted.
Well, you know what isn't going to be untasted is our tea today. And so I want to touch on that. For those who are steeping at home, we are drinking Kucha toasted almond fruit tea. I am so excited about this. I'm trying to take a sip. It brews at boiling for 2 minutes.
I'm going to try it too, and I might just not have...
Really blow on that, because it brewed at boiling.
Oh, she's hot.
She is hot. She's a hot gal.
She's delicious.
She's a hot gal. Very cinnamony, and I'm loving it.
Almost the perfect temperature to drink. Just a couple notches, and we'll be ready to go.
And I'll say this. If I'm drinking this at home, number one, tastes great alone. But also, you want to put a little drip drop of honey in there? Might be fun. Might spice it up a little bit.
I am on a golden latte kick right now, and I am making them at home.
Did you not see one of your options was a turmeric-based tea?
I did, but I've been chugging turmeric-based tea, so I'm taking a night off.
And there's no wrong answer here, so I don't want you to be like it's, I believe strongly one way or the other. This is so meandery, but do you believe in this whole thing where like turmeric needs to be activated by black pepper and yada 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 shenanigans?
That's what I read, and I do put black pepper into my golden lattes when I make them.
Is there science backing this up? Does anyone have science backing this up?
I believe everything I see on the internet.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, you're like, I believe John Benet Ramsey was killed by her brother.
But it makes sense. Another thing, as I was reading whatever it was, I don't remember if I used TikTok or if I used like Pinterest or what have you, unreliable source to figure out how to make the perfect golden latte at home. But it was two elements. It was that black pepper activates it, and it was that it has to be mixed with a fat also so that it's more absorbent, which is why I use whole milk when I make it.
Interesting. So not to push you on that, are you a big, do you still drink traditional milk? I feel like we're in LA.
I don't give a shit about oat milk and... Yeah,
in LA,
it's fine, but I'm not buying it, and I don't particularly care for the flavor of any of the. I don't. Here's what I'll say.
Are we about to get a hot take? Is it hot?
We're about
take
to get
Ravina?
A hot take on alternative milk. It's not that I dislike the flavor. I enjoy what oat milk tastes like. I enjoy what almond milk and coconut milk tastes like, but I don't prefer them to milk, and I don't think that they're a good substitute for milk as far as what I like my milk with. I don't particularly like the taste of oat milk with coffee. I don't particularly like it with, it's not that I don't like it. Tell me if this makes no fucking sense at all. It's not that I don't like it. It's that I like the taste of milk better. And that to me, it doesn't quite work as a substitute. It's like its own thing in my head.
I don't do all the LA stuff. But like a good oat milk latte, get at me. You know what I mean? I do that.
I'm sure it's delicious.
It's great.
So I actually don't. I drink my coffee black, so I'm not even putting it in there anyway.
I'm getting big dogged on my own podcast.
I'm sorry.
Getting big dog. You're just like, oh yeah, I'll just take it. I take it straight black.
I do. But the other reason that I'm like a hardcore OG milk fan is because that was like a comfort thing for me growing up. Is my family would just make me. They would boil a cup of milk for me at night.
Boil
I mean,
it?
maybe not all the way to boiling, but they would warm up a cup of milk for me on the stove, and I would have it before bed. And I mean, maybe this is disgusting, but I actually really enjoy when it gets that weird film on it, when it gets really hot.
We all have weird stuff that we like.
Yeah, I like the film. I like when it just sneaks up on me.
It's a judgment-free T-zone that also applies to other liquids. So we're judgment-free. We're judgment-free. But I feel like for people like us, I mean, I don't want to put myself in the same category as you because you're much healthier than me, but like
I don't know.
dude, there was
I
a
don't think
time.
so. I think people have a perception of me that I'm a lot healthier than I actually am.
There was a time when we were like, so we used to, for those that don't know who are listening, excuse me, we used to host a show together. And so I got to see you once a month. It was called The Jump Off. And if you're listening to this, by the way, please stop submitting to that page. Like the
Please
number.
stop. We weren't going to book you even when we
Yeah.
had the show.
It's true. But I say all that to say, you would be like, we would link up at the show. I would get to catch up with you, and you'd be like, yeah, I was doing like, I ran have this many miles and like lifted all this weight today and blah blah. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I like walked up the stairs and got out of breath, and then I had a sandwich.
Fair. So here's where the dichotomy exists.
Hit me.
So I am athletic. I work out a lot and I like to be active.
Sure.
I don't necessarily eat super healthy.
That's okay. I completely respect that. You work out so you can eat what you want.
Yeah.
I said a burger.
And I eat healthy food, but then I also eat very unhealthy food.
I think
I love Taco Bell.
No, it is crazy to me because I think this is okay to share. You lived with a trainer at one point. And I remember I said to you, I was like, I could never live with a trainer because every time I did something, I would be thinking to myself, like, I think I'm out form. Am I bending down wrong? What are we doing? I get self-conscious about any sort of gym related activity because I didn't grow up athletic as a kid.
Neither did I.
You just said you were athletic.
No, I'm an athletic adult. I was not, okay, I danced as a kid.
That's feels athletic to me, is it not?
Yeah.
When you say dance, are we thinking like ballet or
Some
like tap?
ballet, yeah. So starting at I think age 8 or 9, I was going to after school program and summer camp that was dance classes, basically.
Is there a vibrant dance community in Ohio?
Well, it was all the Russian Jewish kids. Like we all went to the JCC and we all took after school program
Are you kidding me?
where we all danced, and our dance instructor was this guy named Ilya. And he would make us put heavy textbooks on our heads so that we could walk around and learn proper posture and learn how to like not move our upper body and lower body at the same time. So you had to make sure that the book didn't fall off of your head. And originally it started out as like just different alternative, modern, contemporary dancing. And then when he left the JCC, there was a period where they were like test driving all these different dance instructors. And so we had a break dancing instructor for a second. We had a ballet instructor for a second. They spent about a year test driving all these random dance teachers. And then I don't remember if I grew out of that or if we just left, but then I ended up in ballroom. And then I did 2 years of ballroom and I used to win blue ribbons. And then I stopped. And I think I was like 14 when I stopped taking dance classes.
How many years have I known you that this is just coming out that you danced
because it was such a
ballroom?
Random part of my life. It was
I
like
know.
7th and 8th grade.
But like, first off, I will say that the image of a bunch of young Russian girls trying to break dance is hilarious to me.
It is. And I still remember one of the moves.
What was it?
It was actually this, I can do it because it's a hand thing. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if this is good for
anyone
a
who's
podcast.
anyone who's listening, you're going to miss out. But if you're watching, and it's on YouTube, if you're listening,
I just
go
remember
watch.
however many days of it we had, we learned this move.
Very Janet, very Rhythm Nation.
And that has stuck with, I mean, I don't remember what I ate yesterday, but I remember that from 20 years ago.
Well, you need to know that's probably going to be on the social media.
Fantastic.
Here's the thing.
Shout out to Ilya from Cleveland JCC.
When we do this podcast, I want to be clear. We don't think about what's going to go on social.
Sure.
All right. We edit it and we find things that seem fun.
But when I give you a moment like that, what choice do you have?
Some people wait a lifetime for a moment like that.
I think we danced to that song.
I love that song. I used to sit in the back of dance classes because my sister took a lot of dance classes. She took jazz, ballet, and tap. And I would sit in the back hating it. But I wish adult me could have talked to young me and been like, dude, get in there. And I'm a decently good dancer, but I wish I could have been like, dude, get in there and do those classes. Because when you're older, like, let's use ballroom as an example. Okay. When I was in 5th grade, we had to do an elective for like 3 weeks on like ballroom dancing. And in the moment I was like, this sucks. However, now I'm like, I wish I'd taken it more seriously. Like, what a
Mhm.
good skill to have.
It really is, and it's so tragic when men don't dance when they're, like, really stubborn about not participating. It's like, we're gonna go to fun things, and there's gonna be dancing. You can't be like a bump on a log and refuse.
I'd love to dance.
It's the best.
What's the funniest thing is I am now in a relationship with someone who she likes to dance but doesn't love to dance. So I'll go to a wedding and be like, "Yo, we got to get on the dance floor
You
now.
gotta.
We got to go right now." And she'll
That's why people get
be
married,
like,
to give other people a dance floor.
"Is that the reason?"
I suggest.
Okay, yeah. I thought it's to see how many friends will be honest with you that even though you claim the food is good, it's not, and how many people actually tell you. When you're in your 20s and you go to a wedding, you're like, hey, good food, good dancing, good drinking. Maybe I'm a hookup. Cool, all
Mhm.
good. Then by the time you're in your 30s, you're like, good food. There better be higher end alcohol here.
Mhm.
What's the dessert situation? And is the hotel nice? That's kinda where you're at in your 30s. I don't know if you agree with that.
I mostly do, but I'm a little bit of an enigma where I love being single so much and I don't actively look for people in almost any situation. And I no
Interesting.
longer, I think it's been like a couple years that I haven't really actively dated. I've maybe had like small bursts of it.
Sure.
But for the most part, I'm just very content with being single. And the only way that I would like make room for someone in my life is if it was like something really special and like seemed worth going out of my way. I don't try to date to like, I don't know, it's like not a goal of mine to end up in a relationship. Is that weird?
No, it's not weird at all, but the other thing about you, and that, like, kinda makes me think about this next thought, which is, like, your life, as I know it, is I'm not gonna say full because I don't think that's fair, but, like, pretty full. Like,
I would say it's full.
there's
Yeah.
a lot going on there.
Thank you. I'm glad it comes off that
It
way.
does come off that way. It absolutely comes off
Mhm.
that way. But it's just like comedy alone, it's full.
Mhm.
But then like the other stuff you do, it's like doubly full. Like when you were even dating, how were you finding time to do that? Because I know that like you were someone who obviously I always looked forward to seeing. I would always hope that like there's like a small list of people where you're like, man, I hope they're gonna be where I'm going, you
Mhm.
know? And you're on that list for me.
You are as well.
But I remember I would like see you and I would be like, and you'd be like, oh, I just came from this other thing. And I'm like, oh, I should be doing more. And I would be like, ah, like if Galina can make time for it, so can you. And like that's how I like think in my head. So I'm wondering, even if dating were a priority, where does it fit?
Right. That's the thing. And the older I get, the less energy I have and the more I'm like really into my systems because my
Mm,
systems like nourish me. I need alone time to regenerate. I need to have my nights in where I just like watch TV, but then there's so many nights when I'm going out and doing comedy and there's so many nights when like I'm very blessed. I have a lot of like wonderful friends and I
mm.
try and work really hard at like nurturing my friendships and making sure that I go out with people that like I want to catch up with and make plans with them. So I feel like between all that, it's like there's never 2 nights in a row when there's not something on my plate.
That's crazy to me.
It really is, and for that reason, it's like, if I meet someone out in my environment and we click and I wanna date him because something about him makes me wanna date him,
Mm.
fantastic, and so far those choices that I've made have not been so great either.
Well, my favorite moments was when we were hosting the show and you come to the back and be like, hey, we catch up a little bit. You'd be like, so guess who I'm seeing? And you name someone, and I'd be like, Galina. And you'd be like, no. I know, but like I think that the way
Sure.
that you're seeing it, I think I'm seeing it from a different. I'd be like, okay, and then like I'd see you the next month. I'd be like, so you're like, no, it's not. No,
Yeah, yeah,
it's
and
beep.
I've been on a hot streak for 4 or 5 years now of consistently only dating younger men, and I don't know what is up with that, and
Okay.
maybe it's, like, my perception of my maturity level in relationships
Oh,
because I haven't been
interesting.
in a serious relationship in so long that I'm like, I don't feel prepared for something that a 30-something might wanna be in on, and I'm
Interesting.
like, I'll just date guys that are 3, 4, 5 years younger than me because hopefully we'll be more of in the same place in our relationship maturity.
Are you in therapy?
Oh, yeah,
That
I've
feels like
always
a
been in therapy.
that feels like a big like therapy revelation.
Yeah.
Um,
We
that is
mostly talk about my dad. No, I'm kidding.
That listen. I said to Jess at one point, I was like, she was like, yeah, like this might be something you talk about in therapy, and I was like, Jess, I've got a long queue right now. Okay. And so like we'll fit that in where we can, but
I
I just
mostly come in and go, am I sure that I want to be a comedian? And she goes, yeah, are you sure? And then I just cry for an hour and a half
Sure.
and then hand her a lot of money. I actually had a moment today. So my therapist, she does personal sessions and then she also like runs these therapy groups.
Oh, that's
And
interesting.
she kind of has like a decent following on Instagram and a podcast.
Do we
because of course
love that though? Do we love that she's an
so
Instagram?
good. She's so good though,
Okay.
and it's such a good Instagram. But I feel like I can't tell her that I'm aware of this side of her business.
Why not? I would be the first thing I'd share.
I feel like it's somehow crossing some kind of, and obviously I'm sure her other patients like listen to her podcast and are in on it and like
Are in on it. What is it like?
Or subscribe to, or wouldn't be weirdly secretive about it. And I don't know why I'm weirdly secretive about it, but for some reason I feel like I'm so conditioned in all my different therapy dynamics of like, they're not supposed to share any of their world with you because that like breaks the fourth wall.
It's crazy to me.
I kind of believe that too because I think it like somehow waters it down if I like know too much about her. Granted, her work is all therapy type stuff. So I wouldn't acknowledge to her that I know about this. And I also won't go on her Instagram from my page. So I have a burner account. So I go onto her Instagram on my burner account. You don't have a burner?
No.
You'll never admit you gotta have a burner account.
What do I need a burner for? What do I do on a burner?
Because sometimes you don't want people to know you're seeing their stories.
But I don't even watch stories on my
Even
main
your
account.
producer is nodding his head that I'm correct. You gotta have a burner account. You got a burner account? That's right. I have a burner. So I was watching my therapist's Instagram story off my burner today.
Okay.
And she had told me during the last session that it was her last time in that particular office because the lease had ended. And she was like, oh, I'm trying to find a different office. So I'll let you know before the next session what the new address is going to be. And today she posted an Instagram story doing a tour of the new office. And the whole time I was watching the tour going, oh, that's the couch I'm going to cry on next.
Why can't you just here's the thing. I don't even watch people's stories. I say this with love. Like I you know that I absolutely adore you and like I'm like
some people aren't story watchers. It's either your thing or it's not.
I occasionally I'll watch them, you know, like you know, I'm casually indifferent to Elliot, but like if he has a story, I'll, you know, give it a little press, a check. But like I don't look at it like Jess will sometimes be like I'll be like, "Oh, hey, did you hear the news? So and so had a kid." She's like, "Yeah, it was on Instagram." I was like, "I didn't see it." I don't go on Instagram a lot.
Good for you. I wish I didn't, but I'm addicted to my phone.
Well, I'm like I hang out on TikTok probably a little too.
I'm on TikTok a lot too. Yeah.
I don't post enough, but I'm on there.
Yeah.
But
it's my favorite of all the apps as far as like what I'm consuming.
I'll tell you this: where we are in my TikTok journey, my algorithm now.
Tell me about your algorithm.
My algorithm is, and I'm not. There's no exaggeration here. Okay, this is like the predominant pieces of my algorithm. Number one, cat videos, real big in my algorithm. I
have some good ones for you.
Please. I used to send them to Jess, and so TikTok kept feeding them to me, and then I just started to like them.
There's some damn good cat videos on TikTok.
Great ones.
I saw one today that was 3 cats around a bunch of candles saying like a prayer in Spanish, and
excellent.
It was very witchy and funny.
Excellent. Right up my alley.
I will send it right to you.
That's number one. Number two, a lot of NBA content. I'm an NBA fan.
You lost
I really
me
like.
there.
Yep, it's all good. Basketball, really into it. Number three, which like I don't necessarily think I engage with this content all that often, but like a bunch of like things to do in LA pop up in my feed. Now I'm going to give you the final one because this is the one that really makes my algorithm different than everybody else's. A huge, consistent piece of my algorithm is somewhat close-up videos of rabbits eating different fruits and vegetables.
Oh, yay!
And very mic'd up, so you can really hear them like.
I love that.
And Jess is like, why is your algorithm?
Because you watched the whole video.
100%. I watch them twice. She's like, why are you? She's like, you know that a lot of like people who have a boyfriend are nervous, like, oh, their TikTok's probably all just like hot girls with their, you know, with their tits out, and yours is rabbits eating fruit.
So
and I was like, have you ever seen a rabbit eat a strawberry? Don't come at me about it before you've seen it.
Yeah.
And now she watches them a little bit. She goes, at one point she was like, one just came in my feed today, and I know it's your fault. I'm getting it out. What is your algorithm showing you?
So mine really like jumps around quite a bit. It's currently, it's a lot of skincare.
Oh, I have some of that.
I get quite a bit of skincare. I also get the ones of things to do in LA because when it shows me a good restaurant, I'll put that shit in my favorites folder.
I favorite some things. I have no idea what I favorite.
Mm,
I never go back and look.
yeah. And then and sometimes it gives me a lot of this and sometimes it doesn't, but it gives me like, the guy, what is he called? He is like a warrior for shopping carts. Like if
Oh,
someone
Cart
fucks
Narc.
Cart narc. I
Yeah.
love cart narc.
Cart Narc pops up
Yeah,
in
I
mine
love
too,
a good
yeah.
cart narc. And then it's a lot of like crazy Karen videos where someone's getting justice against like a lunatic Karen.
I get some Karens.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I get some of that. It really goes all over the place. I get some dancing videos, not of kid ones, but of like actually professional dancers because I do enjoy videos of like really good dancing.
I don't think I get that. I think I'd like it.
Yeah.
I like hip hop dancing.
Yeah, same. So I get
I
quite a
don't
bit of
get that.
that.
I don't
And
get it.
then what else am I getting? I'm getting like Vine compilations of like physical
I
comedy.
get that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say something really, really controversial that maybe I shouldn't share. And like this is probably not kosher, but I'm gonna say it, and it is what it is. I skip every single stand-up clip that comes in my TikTok.
Yeah, I do
I
too.
skip all of
Mhm.
them. I don't now.
I don't really get any, only on my following, which I never watch the following.
Yeah,
I only
never.
watch the For You.
I only watch For You too, but listen, if it's a friend of mine,
Mhm.
I'll throw it a heart.
Yeah.
But I still won't watch it.
Yeah. But
I
TikTok doesn't know. That's why it keeps giving them to you.
I just
I heart it too because it's like we got to support our people.
I do, and I
Yeah.
totally do. But I'm just like, I never want these in my feed again.
Mhm.
And there's no polite way to say
I
like,
get it.
get these out of here. I just like I am just surrounded. Here's what's interesting. You and I both have a very shared interest that does not show up in either of our feeds.
Mm.
Do you know what that interest is?
Hmm.
True crime.
Yeah, I really don't get much
I don't get true crime
here
on
and
my feed
there,
either.
but not
I don't get
really.
any. I don't get any.
I get them sometimes, but definitely not as much as I would like to. And the unfortunate thing about the true crime on TikTok is that it's always people going, "Go to part 2, go to part 3," and I'm like, "You lost me."
I was like, I'm gonna stay in part 1, and if you
Mhm.
can solve it for me in part 1, I'm gonna
Yeah.
stick in part 1. And if you can't, I'm done. Don't honey trap me through 4 parts of
Exactly.
a video.
Cuz I'm not following you so I can come back to this.
I want to sit here and tell you my time's more important. It's probably not, but I don't want to be spending it on your 4-part series
That's right.
where like the 4th part you tell me something I already know.
And they're just summing up that they saw it on some podcast we already heard it on or a documentary that we already saw.
Just okay, you know what? Speaking of that, we're gonna move into our first segment. Are you ready for the newly friend game?
I am.
I love it. The newly friend game, it's like the newlywed game, but we're friends. You are going to grab your dry erase board and your marker. I'm going to ask you a question. You're going to write down your answer. I'm going to see if I can get it right.
Oh.
And then we'll flip our boards and then we'll do the same thing for me. Now, the reason that I just thought to do this is because the question for you revolves around our shared interest. My question for you, and it's going to be a similar question for me, but my question for you, and don't tell me, write down your answer.
Mhm.
What is your, and I'm going to say current because I think favorites change all the time.
Okay.
What is your current favorite true crime documentary? I'm writing one that I don't think this is your answer, but I just remember we had.
But I think I know what you're thinking of.
And you don't think it's right.
It's not.
Oh, well, I tried. Okay, you ready? 3, 2, 1, flip your board. Oh, so I thought you were talking about the Nexium cult because you said spelling. You wrote David Koresh.
Yeah.
But under that, I wrote the staircase because we've had many a talk
I
about the
know,
staircase.
and I have a bit about the staircase.
Yeah.
And
Wait.
I do love the staircase, but I
Yeah.
feel like I am in a cult phase. But you were like not far off because you wrote Nexium.
Well, who is David Koresh? I don't know David Koresh.
Oh my gosh. He is the one who was a cult leader and he had that giant like where was it in Texas? They just recently had a really good documentary about it, but it's like
Wild Wild Country?
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, Waco. So he was the
Okay.
Waco guy. And then he inspired Timothy McVeigh. Like
Dear
Timothy
Lord.
McVeigh was basically getting revenge on the government for the David Koresh thing. So the FBI like surrounded the Waco property for like days on end and they had a standoff and they had a shootout and eventually his whole house caught fire and there were like all these it wasn't even a house. It was like a compound and like kids died and it was just fucking crazy. And now I think Showtime did like a dramatized version of it that they're making with like Michael Shannon or something. So
I'll watch anything with Michael Shannon in it.
yeah. It looks fantastic. I thought you were going to put for me JonBenet Ramsey.
So I know that you are very, I was going to say love that story. You don't love that story.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that you and I have not seen eye to eye on who we think the killer is, because I think you think it's the brother.
I kind of think it's the brother, and the reason that I'm very intrigued by it, but I actually hate unsolved cases.
Yeah, so I don't like cold
They
cases
stress
at
me
all.
out.
Yeah, I don't care for it. Yeah, and I was always of the mom, but I understand I understand both sides of the case. Um, I feel like a lot of places that do cold cases. There was one podcast, and I don't want to get into the politics of it because that podcast is no longer on the air, and it's for very different reasons. But there was a podcast for a minute that focused on cold cases and kind of pulling together the sleuths of the internet, and they solved a couple. And I was just like, the power of the web.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna do the same question for me, but should I do a different one? No, you know what? We'll do the same one. Do the same one. What is my favorite? I gotta now think about what it is. What is my favorite true crime doc? Ooh. I'm gonna honestly, no, I'm gonna put this. I don't think you're gonna get this. And I'm gonna put this in parentheses. And then I'm also gonna put this. Because I don't
You're doing 3, I'm doing 1.
Well, I'm giving you 3 chances to get this right.
And it's okay that I don't remember the name of the documentary, just who it's about.
I think you chose my second one.
Okay.
Oh,
damn!
No. So you put Son
None.
of Sam.
Yeah.
Which,
I love Golden State Killer. I should have picked that for mine.
So I wrote Serial. Because
Serial's
I
good.
absolutely loved the pacing of Serial. I thought it was wonderful. And then I put GSK, the HBO.
And the Michelle McNamara book was so amazing.
So that's the one.
Put Ted Bundy. Like, my brain is not working.
I mean,
there should have been caffeine in this tea.
I know. Well, I purposely didn't caffeinate it. I also wanted to say that I never watched a documentary on the case, but there was a series.
Netflix documentary is wonderful.
Oh no, I watched those, the GSK ones. But I watched a great show called Under the Banner of Heaven.
Loved. Okay, so Jonathan Krakauer is
I know you
one
love
of my
his
favorite
books.
authors. Yeah, so I loved Under the Banner of Heaven.
The Under the Banner of Heaven was wonderful. By the way, that's the end of the segment. You can put your board down.
Fantastic.
Yeah, you did great. How'd
Thank
you feel?
We got 0 for 0.
Yeah, 0 for 0, but we did our best.
Yeah.
But no, I watched Under the Banner of Heaven, and I never seen an actual documentary about the real events that it's based on, but I loved that series, and I feel like I'd be interested in learning more.
The book was amazing.
Much better. Yeah, it made me think of, I didn't read the book, but the idea of the fact that like he wrote it in such a fashion that, from what I've heard, that it was apparently like a riveting book, but it was based in based in true events, made me think it was a lot like In Cold Blood or Devil in the White City, those kind of books that are like historical but real.
Oh gosh, Devil in the White City pissed me off because it was so.
Loved it.
It's very, very hyped up, but I think that they spent so much time talking about the damn Chicago Fair, and I don't care, and it was so hard for me to read through that. I thought it was just read like a textbook. Just the part about the fair.
Well, yeah, you wanted the murder chapters.
Yeah, of course.
I read it before the hype was there.
Okay.
So I wasn't. Let me put it this way. Like, I am one of my biggest problems in life is if something's hyped up, I'm going to hate it. I'm just going to hate it. Like, and I know this will upset people. It is what it is. I hated Gladiator, the movie. Everyone was like, this movie's going to change your life.
Never saw it.
It was terrible.
I pride myself on not seeing so many movies that the majority of people have seen. I've never seen a single Star Wars.
Oh, that's interesting. I don't judge you for that. They're not my favorite.
I've never seen so many movies. I've never seen
Have
like
you seen
The
Training
Godfather.
Day?
I think so.
So I hated that. That upsets people a lot too. But I think there are movies that people love that other people hate all the time. That's like, it's fine, but when something's hyped, I have trouble liking it.
Fair.
But I read that book before the hype, and so I didn't have the opportunity to be like, I'm gonna hate it. I'm determined, which I will do.
Well, Anne Rule, Stranger Beside Me is my all-time favorite true crime book.
I don't think what is that one?
So Anne Rule was actually a police officer turned journalist who worked side by side with Ted Bundy and like was friends with him. So she writes the Ted Bundy story from her personal experience of like knowing him.
I don't know if I could read that. That would scare the crap out of me.
Unbelievable.
That would scare me.
Such a good book. I was like mad when it ended.
I'm scared of hearing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's funny. Like you were talking about, like there are so many movies that people love that you haven't seen. There is a franchise.
Oh yeah.
That
family.
I have never met anyone in my life who
and you never
is
will.
as obsessed with this franchise as you, and I don't want to go too quick, and I'm not going to be mad, but it's Fast and it's Furious.
Yeah.
And I don't understand when did you develop a love for the Fast and the Furious?
Let me walk it back.
Please.
Let me tell the origin story.
I'm dying for it.
Okay. This goes all the way back to my childhood. So
when did this first one come out?
2001.
2001. Okay, so
so I was 12.
Okay, fine. Childhood. I thought it was like 6. You're like 6 years old being like, I want to be like
No, but
Paul
here's
Walker.
why it comes back to my childhood, because I grew up, the men in my family were not particularly into sports. And
So I would have fit in well with your family.
You would have fit in.
Yeah.
I was raised, I have always lived with my grandpa. Like, I lived with my grandpa more than I lived with my dad.
Oh, I didn't know that. Cool.
And he is a career mechanic. So not only would he like go to the shop during the day and work on cars, he would also work on all like the family cars and all of our family friends' cars.
Amazing.
Like, there would just always be cars in the driveway. And for me to go hang out with him was to like go hang out in the driveway while he was like under a car and like bullshit and be like, what's this? What's this? And I just had all these questions and I was like so curious and just always loved cars. And then my type I would describe once I like hit puberty and started being intrigued with men, I've always been attracted to like preppy guys that look like they're from Connecticut, or like that beachy look.
Who
like
would
that.
not know how to work on a car.
No, but here's the thing. Like, Paul Walker was my dream. I was obsessed with him. I thought he was like the most beautiful thing in the entire world. So the fact that a movie came out that was about cars and starred him, and I like had the biggest crush on him ever. Of course, I was so obsessed with those movies.
I mean, yeah, I guess that plays, but like, one comes out, Too Fast, Too Furious, Tokyo Drift. Those come out. Now you're kind of an adult.
Yeah.
Are you just already like, I don't care what they come out with. I'm in it. I'm here. I'm steeped.
Pretty much, but I think my like the way that I, half ironically, half seriously, like obsess about it,
Sure,
didn't start until probably the 5th or 6th movie. And at that point, I started. So I have a stepbrother, and he didn't come into my life till I was like 18. But one of the things that we bonded over was our love for the Fast and Furious movies. So at one point, we just agreed to see every single one on opening day together. And I think we've seen like the last 4 or 5 on opening day together. And it was just a thing where like, because it was about cars, and I like grew up like when I turned 16, my first boyfriend, his dad owned a car dealership, so he always had different cars and like was always driving like a stick shift, and I was trying to learn how to drive one, and like always had different fun cars zooming around. And then I had another boyfriend who was like part of this group in the city that like modded out their cars and put on obnoxious like bumpers and like this has just always been a part of my life, like that kind of street car culture.
this is amazing.
So that's why it like aligns so much. And because I was just so obsessed with Paul Walker. I loved him so much. Like, when he died, people called me to check on me, and like I was not okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Would you? Okay, so let's say you meet a guy, and you're like, he's kind of cool. Like, I think I'm into him.
Mhm.
And then he goes, I need to be honest with you. I street race at night. Would you like it or would you not like it?
I dated a guy for like a year in college because the first thing I learned about him was that he was into drifting cars.
And that was enough for you to
I
be
have
like,
been the same dumb bitch my whole life.
You're like, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Do you know a lot about cars? Because you were
Yes.
around your grandfather who worked on cars, so you can work on cars a little bit.
A little bit. I did used to change my own oil, and I like remember I worked on like the cooling system on the radiator with him once. That's kind of the extent of what I could physically do and actually change on my own. But I mean, I understand how an internal combustion engine works. I've also been working at Ferrari for 10 years, and I
Yeah.
also have been writing for an automotive blog for a year. So like, I'm in the thick of it.
I didn't know you were writing for an automotive
Yeah,
blog.
I write like dealership landing pages and stuff, and I write articles for like third-party automotive blogs, like
That's-
opinion blogs about different cars.
It's crazy that you and Jess haven't talked about this because
Mm.
Jess's father is a mechanic and she knows boatloads about cars.
Yeah. We should talk about. I get so excited like anytime I find out I have a girlfriend that wants to talk about cars.
We'll like drive. We'll be like driving and she'll be like, "Oh, do you see that?" I'm like, "What happened?" And she's like,
Yeah, me too. I'll lose my mind. I have by myself in my car screamed because I saw like a Pagani or something.
Well, actually, before I get to that, I did want to ask you, and I'm not going to ask you to do this, but if I did ask you to do this,
Mhm.
Do you know the Fast and the Furious movies well enough that you would be able to rank them off the top of your head? Like, I would say, and again, you do not
Mhm.
have to do this, but I would say it's like 6, 1, 3, 4, 2, 8, 9. Like
I
that.
could.
That's
Yeah,
insane. How many
absolutely.
times have you seen these movies?
I've seen the new one twice. It just came out. I've already seen it twice.
That's unbelievable.
I've seen every single movie no less than 2 times, but most of them I've seen at least 3 or 4 times.
I saw a Twitter thread where someone was talking about when did the Fast and the Furious movies go off the rails, and
It
people were
was
writing
5.
different moments. Someone said it was a moment where he like slams his foot in a parking garage and the whole thing, like a crack forms through the parking garage.
Oh, that was 6.
Okay. So people like
I would say 5 is where it kind of went off the rails.
when were they in space?
That was 9.
Okay, so that's off the rails.
Yeah, totally.
I only saw 1, 2.
6 is where it gets like batshit, like we're talking military equipment, and that's when they like turn into spies.
Okay,
So that's where it gets like crazy.
I saw 1, 2 in Tokyo Drift, which is I guess is informally considered 3.
No, so Tokyo Drift is actually 6. So it's the 3rd movie and it came out 3rd, but in the order of the story, it should be 6th.
Okay, so I saw 1, 2, and 6.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Am I looked at by the Fast community as just like a rube? You're like, who is this idiot?
No, I don't. Anyone who's like open-minded to it at all, I'm like, respect.
I really hope that there are just like message boards of just like the Fast community. Maybe they call themselves like, I don't know, the Furious,
The family.
the family. Okay, that yes, I've heard that. So they're all the family, and they just like communicate on secret blogs with each other.
If they do, I guess I'm not in there.
Well, listen. If you're listening and you're on one of these blogs, get Galina in the mix. She'll make you laugh, and she knows a lot about cars. I feel like that's a good sales pitch.
I think so, yeah.
I'm in it.
Yeah.
Are you ready for the lightning round?
I guess so.
Well, ooh, all right.
I didn't finish my tea.
Well, you can still keep drinking your tea. The lightning round, listen, it's fast questions. It doesn't have to be fast answers. So you take your time.
All right.
We had one person, I mentioned this a little bit off the mic, who was rushing to the answers.
I'm like upright and ready to go.
Yeah, well,
Focused.
I would like. Well, so here's the thing: would a book balance on your head right now?
I could.
Okay. Before we get to this, is your posture like amazing?
I've
It
been
seems
complimented on it before. Yeah.
My posture is dog crap, so I kind of wish I'd been through the training you went through. Just saying.
Somebody, I forgot, one of my like closest friends at one point was like, "Wow, your posture," and I was like, "Really?" Like, I guess that's that Soviet discipline.
It was Ilya for you.
Yeah.
It was Ilya. All right. Question 1: what is a favorite ritual of yours? So mine is brewing tea.
In the mornings, I get back into bed with my cup of coffee and I read.
Really?
Mhm.
For how long?
As long as it takes me to drink the coffee, it's usually about 20 minutes.
So you read every day.
I do.
How many books are you getting through in a year?
I do about 1 to 2 a month, depending on the length. So about 20 a year.
I literally have a joke I've been doing recently where I say, anyone here read a lot? And a bunch of people cheer, and I go, yeah, not me. I don't do it. Wish I did. For everyone listening, I'm sure my
I
mom's
have book
gonna hear this.
recommendations for days in different categories. So
I have
if you
enough
wanna
books
start-
on my shelves that I haven't read. If my mom hears this, just know I'm trying. Question 2: what is a running bit you have with a friend or partner that makes you laugh?
Oh God. This is so great. So I'll try to keep it semi-short.
No, keep it
But,
long. Who cares?
2 of my best friends and I randomly went to see O-Town, the boy band from 2001.
Yeah, I have
perform
liquid
last year.
dreams all
Yeah.
the time. Well, okay. Now let me back that up.
Perfect
Let me back it
response.
up. That's not what I meant.
Perfect response.
That's not what I meant. Here's the thing. I didn't mean it that way. And I also have to be clear. Jess's mom has heard this podcast. And if she hears this, Kelly, that is not at all what I meant. It's the name of one of their songs. Okay? It's the name of their song. I was riffing. And sometimes you don't hit.
Mhm.
No one bats 1,000 in the riff game. Go ahead.
So I actually do a bit about it, but it's separate. That's not what the inside joke is. So the inside joke comes from the fact. So I ended up like flirting with one of the members.
Sure.
And like one of his fans caught wind of it and she made a fake profile to like harass me on Instagram.
As everyone does.
As everyone does. And so she just started leaving all these like batshit insane comments all over my Instagram, like in all caps. I would just like post like a comedy promo and she would put, "Quit hitting on my man."
To
like-
the comedy promo?
Yeah, like she would just comment on random Instagram posts of mine to tell me to quit hitting on her man. And one time she wrote, "Get a grip, he ain't want you." And my friends and I, my friend Rachel, my friend Jamie. So the three of us just like thought that was the funniest thing ever. So we just would constantly say to each other, "Get a grip, he ain't want you." And
What is wrong with
we were like
people?
talking about getting get a grip like tattooed on us somewhere. It was just so funny. And then last Christmas, um, they surprised me, and it was so funny because I was literally just like coming off of a breakup. So to say "get a grip, he ain't want you" is like just so unbelievably funny. But I walked into, I think everybody was like taking mushrooms or something. But I had a show. I was somewhere and I like joined them, and they gifted me a sweatshirt that says "he ain't want you," and it was like the hardest I've ever laughed.
That is, do you wear it?
All the time.
You have
It's
to.
such a comfortable sweatshirt, first of all. Second of all, it's the funniest. I mean, like I collapsed laughing.
If you don't turn that into a joke where you can make that merch, I'm gonna be
I
disappointed.
absolutely have to, for sure. I have a bit about it, but it's from a totally different angle. It's not about like the "get a grip, he ain't want you,"
Oh no,
because
you.
this girl just kept harassing me, so it's like a joke now of like one of the things she says, I just read it as the punchline. It's so funny on its own that I don't even need to like do anything to it.
I just want a "he ain't want you" sweatshirt.
Yeah.
That's really what I want.
Yeah.
It's
And they're
selfish.
coming. Yeah, I
Good.
have to. That has to be my merch.
Put them on soft sweatshirts. I like a
Mhm.
soft crew.
Absolutely.
Question 3: Can you do an impression or of one or both of your parents? And it doesn't have to be good. The worse, the
Mm.
better.
If I do the impression of my parents, it just has to sound Russian.
Oh, is it
So
that
it's
strong of
just
an
Russian
accent?
accent. My mom is not as strong, but my dad, it's very severe.
Interesting. Can you speak Russian? I can't remember.
Of course, yeah, it's my first language.
That is unbelievable.
I
Do
was
you?
5 when I came here.
I remember that. Do you use it? Like, does it come in handy?
All the time. I just was hired on a notary job last week because they needed a Russian-speaking notary.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Do you ever hear people talking and they don't know you speak Russian and you're like,
All the time. I was just this week at a friend of mine took me to like a Russian banya, like a spa.
that sounds nice.
It was great. And
Yeah.
it was like catered to middle-aged Russian men, and I love to eavesdrop, so I like
How
won't
can you
tell
not?
them that I speak Russian. But then there were like all these guys coming into the sauna, and they were like talking shit to each other, and it was so funny. And I was trying so hard not to laugh because I didn't want them to know I understood them because I wanted to like keep spying on them.
But they didn't say anything about you.
No, they didn't say anything about me, but then the one guy like caught him staring at me, and I'm like, I think he's onto me.
I mean, what an amazing thing to be able to be like, you're right, I do speak 2 languages. I'm terrible. Question 4: Have you ever experienced imposter syndrome? And if so, is there a particular moment that sticks with you?
Mm. I mean, yeah, I think anytime I've booked anything remarkable in comedy, right?
You're funny. Why is that? I that surprises me. You're so funny. You're so good. Why
It's not every time, but it has absolutely happened where I've gotten something and then you have people like I've had peers of ours kind of like tell me that they have an impression that I'm like much further along than I actually am, and I'm
I
like,
feel like you're decently on your way.
I think
No?
I'm decently on my way, but I think I've had people like somebody said to me recently, they're like, "Shouldn't you have an S corp by now?" And I'm like, "Yeah, no."
Listen, it's never too early to get financially organized.
Sure.
Okay, that is what my accountant Ira always says to me. I don't listen, but that is what he says.
Yeah.
No, I respect that. That's interesting. I mean, I view you as doing great, but
Thank
what
you.
do I know? I'm just one man. Final question: What is your favorite tea? And if not tea, what is your favorite comfort?
Mm. I actually love tea a lot. I like a good bedtime tea.
Like a sleepy time tea?
Mhm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Does it put you to bed?
No,
Okay.
but it's a nice way to like cap off the night, and I like it with like a little sweet bite,
Well, you got to tell us. Is
or
it a
like a
cookie?
cookie or a little piece of like a little bit of ice cream or some kind of piece of chocolate or something.
Okay,
Yeah.
final. This is not one of the questions. I just have to follow up. If it's ice cream,
Mhm.
what brand are we talking about?
Ooh. Oh my gosh.
I think you know my brand,
I
but
mean, I love so many ice creams. My favorite is Handles.
oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll accept that answer.
Yeah.
My answer is salt and straw, but we'll accept that
I know
answer.
you're Salt and Straw.
I'll,
But Handles, they betray me because they always my favorite flavor there is like seasonal, like comes and goes.
that's not betrayal as much as it is building up the excitement, but I hear you.
Mhm.
My favorite flavor at Salt and Straw is seasonal. It's salted caramel cupcake. And
All their shit is seasonal.
listen, they do what they do, and I love them for it.
Mhm.
How do you feel? You feel good?
Yeah.
thank you for being on.
Thank
It
you
was
so much
good
for
seeing
having
you.
me.
We have to have you on again. You're officially a friend of the pod,
Please.
and I'm obsessed with this tea. We'll have it again.
It's so good.
Well, thank you.
Yay.
That was Galina Ravina. You can follow her at ThumbGalina on Instagram and Twitter, and at Galina Ravina on TikTok. Steep Conversations is produced and edited by Elliot G.B. Our associate editor is Martin Alvarez. Our theme song and additional music are by Oliver Hymack. Our cover art was done by Neil Fraser with photography by Matt Mazisco. Social media by Dia Villegas. Please write a review and rate our podcast on Apple Podcasts and wherever else you can. You can send any questions, comments, newly friend game suggestions, or tea suggestions to steepcombos@gmail.com or tweet us at steepcombos. I'm Josh Lanzette, and you can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook at Josh Lanzette. We'll be back next week, so until then, happy steeping.
And then some everything but the bagel seasoning from Trader Joe's.
I literally put that on
and green onion.
cardboard. I will put everything but the bagel
Yeah.
seasoning on things that has no right to be on.
Yeah.
Like nothing. The only thing I wouldn't put
Bring
it
it
on,
in the bedroom.
a bagel. Only thing, yeah. I'd bring it in the bedroom. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Please.